Hi everyone, I'm Nish, and today we are going to be making a creative and delicious snack, toast art. Get ready to unleash your creativity as we turn ordinary toast into edible works of art. So let's dive right in. We'll be looking at the翰林student textbook, Book 2, Unit 4 of the reading section. We're going to be adding a practical element to this section and linking it to our previous unit on visual art. Here we encourage students to see that we can use English in a fun and meaningful way. When you facilitate this class, you could have students draw in their own unique designs or use an existing one from the internet. First, we'll look at a few tools that we'll need to make and decorate our toast art. We'll need a small cake server for spreading, a small butter knife for texturing. We could also use a piping bag for finer texturing, and toothpicks for those finer details. Now that our tools are out of the way, we can move on to our ingredients. We will need a slice of white or whole wheat bread toasted so that the surface is harder and easier to work on. We will need a toaster or an oven to do this. Different colored jams or puree spreads can also be used. You can buy these online or at a baking goods store. We have an Oreo spread, a matcha spread, a roselle tea spread, a chocolate spread, and a berry spread. Now, we don't always have to use sweet spreads. We can also use savory spreads. Here we have some yellow mustard and some cream cheese. Let's get started. We can begin by lightly toasting our bread in the oven. We want it to get hard so it's easier to work with and maintain its shape, but we don't want it to get too hard so it's hard to bite or chew on. We can put it in the oven for 3 minutes at 180 degrees Celsius. Now, remember when using the oven to use our mittens so that we are safe. After the bread is toasted, we can place it on a plate and allow it to cool for about 10 minutes. Have the picture of the artwork you've chosen on the table as a point of reference. If students have decided to make their own pieces of art, they could sketch this beforehand on a piece of paper or on their school iPads. After we remove the toast from the oven and allow it to cool for a few minutes, we can begin the fun part, the painting. Now remember, before we begin, we need to have our picture ready as a reference for when we're designing the artwork. I will be using a picture of the beautiful Mount Fuji in Japan as my reference picture, and I'm going to place it in front of me. Now the first thing I'm going to do is get a tool, like a cake server, for spreading my matcha powder and cream cheese onto my toast as a background. So I'm going to be sure to spread it thinly and evenly to make sure that I'm getting it all over the surface of my bread. Okay, this may take a few minutes. I'm going to go over the corners to make sure that I'm spreading it evenly. Now the next step is going to be the base of my mountain. For this, I'm going to be using my roselle tea spread, which is a little darker. So I'm going to grab some of that. get a small amount. And I'm gonna put a thin layer on my bread. Okay, and then I'm going to use my spoon to spread. And make sure that I get a nice thin layer. Now the next step is going to be making the actual mountain. For this, I will use my Rizal tea spread and a little bit of cream cheese. So I'm going to take a little bit of Rizal tea spread and some cream cheese, and I'm going to mix that up. I'm going to use my cake server to put some of it onto my bread, like so. And I'm going to do a very basic triangular shape. Remembering to spread even amounts on my bread. Okay, I'm going to do this once more. And now I have a nice triangular shape. So I'm going to get a little bit more of my Rizal tea spread for my base. And I'm going to try and blend that in very nicely. Okay, and just a little bit more. Okay, now that I'm happy with the shape of my mountain, I'm going to get some cream cheese for the snowy tip of the mountain. I'm gonna apply it there with my small teaspoon. And I can use a little butter knife to help me blend that in. Okay, and just a little generous scoop for the very tip of the mountain. And some for down here for some accents and color. And now I'm going to take my chopstick and I'm gonna make a few stars to decorate my sky and my background. Now I'm also going to take a little bit of matcha and I'm gonna apply it in a few spaces just to get those colors popping. And there you have it, your very own edible piece of art. By combining our textbook reading with a hands-on task, students can internalize language in a fun way and learn that English is not only about studying, but also about having fun. This is a great way to turn passive learning into active participation. See you next time!